Hello, everyone. Welcome to Grid Live Wrap Up. Joe Samaniego here, along with a full cast. We have Adam Lemeries, Aaron Vogel here for her racing insight for the Rolex 24. Ben Schneider, linked to his channel in the video description, as well as Joshua Berg. And congratulations, Joshua. You hit 300 subscribers on your channel. Congratulations on that this weekend. And of course, Kobe Lambis from the podium finish. Been up all 24 hours covering the Rolex 24 hours and comes down to a very exciting finish, which Kobe will get all into. And of course, we want to give a big special thank you to Colin, the show, Mark, and Robin, our Patreon subscribers, for keeping us on the air. And a big special thank you this week to Edward Hunter. He bought us a cup of coffee, and you could buy a cup of coffee for the Grid Network or for your favorite on-air talent. So you want to buy any one of us coffee, be more than happy to. Link in the video description and just put in the comments who specifically you want to share the coffee with. Starting off with the Rolex 24 hours. Kobe, yesterday we had a great show. Thank everyone for watching the show yesterday. I encourage everyone viewing, share your comments and questions. We said it was going to be something special. I know Adam said this is going to be one of the best Rolex 24s in recent memory. This seemed like it had everything, something for everybody.
Yeah, Joe, it was definitely the perfect race. And as you said, Adam was absolutely right when he said that this might be the best Rolex 24 yet. I think it's definitely up there. The racing across all five classes definitely lived up to the hype, and this was a race that we'll always have in our memories. It came down to the final sprint in the closing minutes of the race. Ricky Taylor trying to get Wayne Taylor racing four in a row in this crown jewel event. But he had a tough task of chasing down a four-time Indianapolis 500 champion and the man he shared the overall win with here last year, Spider-Man. Elio Castroneves, and just 10 years ago, Michael Shank Cohen or Meyer Shank Grayson won the 50th Rolex 24 at Daytona with Oz Negri Jr., John Pugh, Justin Wilson, and AJ Allmendinger looking to win on the 60th anniversary. The race fell into place perfectly for MSR. Good drives by Oliver Jarvis and Simon Pagenaud. Tom Blomqvist drove a monster stint in the closing hours, and at the end, handed over the number 60 Acura DPI to Elio for the finish. And then he held off Wayne Taylor Racing, putting an end to their dominance in the Crown Jewel race. There was a lot of celebrations post race. Elio had the entire team doing his trademark fence climb in the Tri Oval. Meyershank Racing won the Indy 500 last race with Elio Castroneves. Now they get the Rolex 24 with the factory back Acura DPI program. Is Meyershank Racing on its way to becoming one of the powerhouse teams in motorsports, joining the likes of Team Penske, Chip Ganassi Racing, and Andretti Autosport?
Yeah, Kobe, I think that they've definitely shown that they're willing to do what it takes to be a winning team. I think what they did with the driver lineup this year, hand selecting some of the best in the world, shows that they have the acumen to really excel in the sport and to continue their growth. So I think it's very exciting. I've actually been wanting to see a win from them here at Daytona for a few years now, and it's been really great to watch them. It was so exciting to see them win today and to see Elio get to climb the fence and, just stretch out that lead right there at the end. And fun to see Acura show such dominance today. So I think we could see a lot of great things from Meyershank in the future. And I personally really hope so.
Yeah, I'll agree with you, Aaron. And I said on the broadcast yesterday, Helio Castroneves became the first driver ever to win the Rolex 24 Hours Daytona and the Indy 500 in the same calendar year. That's pretty remarkable and incredible. And what we saw from Helio in his Meyershank Racing Acura DPI, they could go longer with fuel on their compared to the other Acuras and Cadillacs, and I think that gave them an advantage throughout the race. But what we saw coming from Wayne Taylor Racing and Ricky Taylor in the final hours, it was incredible, and I think we do have to consider Meyershank Racing up there with the likes of Chip Ganassi and Andretti Autosport. And and Team Penske. This year, Elio is competing full-time on the NTT IndyCar circuit. You don't think this will give him a drive number 5 come Memorial Day weekend at Indy? We could see history at the famed Brickyard in the month of May.
Yeah, Adam, I think we've already seen history. I think Shank is definitely already there, and Mike Shank in particular, what he's done with this program over the last decade. I know they've won in 2012 as well with AJ Allmendinger and Justin Wilson and a couple others there. Their sports car program is certainly already at that level to take down Wayne Taylor Racing, who's won it the last 3 years, 4 out of the last 5. And Elio in particular, I mean, we've been talking so much about him, and I might have some more to say about Elio in my shining moment as we close out the show later. But, Elio's done a phenomenal job, and that's not even looking yet into what they could do on the IndyCar side of things. And obviously, Elio winning the Indy 500 last year was absolutely incredible. There's no doubt, Adam, like you said, that the Drive for 5 is very much alive over there. And Simon Pagenaud coming into that team, another Indy 500 winner and IndyCar champion, I think he's only going to elevate that program even further. So I think in a lot of ways they're already there, and we could see the potential for them to maybe even exceed that status, depending on how their IndyCar program does as we get into that part of the season.
Yes, it's been truly amazing what Meyer Shank Racing's been able to accomplish during this time period. Winning the Indy 500 with Elio in the month of May last year, and now the Rolex 24s. I totally agree with you, Ben. I think they're already there at powerhouse status. And with the addition of Simon Pagenaud with that program on the sports car side, and especially the IndyCar side full time, I think that team is going to take a gigantic step forward this year, and I think their team will definitely have to watch. I think I'm actually going to make an early IndyCar prediction here. I think Meyer Shank Racing is going to win a couple of IndyCar races this year, and in the post race press conference, Castro Neves told Mike Shank that we should go to Le Mans next, and Simon Pagenaud said that you say, yeah, because I speak French, and that's obviously Simon's home race. So it would be really exciting to see Meyer Shank Racing go to the 24 Hours of Le Mans again. They were in the LMP2 class several years ago, but haven't been back since. And with the new Acura GTP coming along in the next year or so, they have a chance to go for the overall win if they decide to go to the Circuit de la Sarre. So sky's the limit for Meyer Shank Racing. And while the prototype action up front was very intense, a few positions back in 5th overall, the LMP2 battle came down to the wire before the final full course caution of the race. Dragon Speed, Tower Motorsport, and PR1 Madison Motorsports were still in contention for the win at the time. Colton Herta was leading in the number 81 Dragon Speed Orica. His IndyCar rival Rinus VeeKay, who was a lap down, passed Herta to put Racing Team Nederland back in the lead lap. Then the caution came, and 4 LMP2 drivers were in the hunt for a class victory during the final stretch. Tower Motorsport driver Louis Delatraz was leading LMP2, and Colton Herta outbraked him, getting side by side, entering the newly renamed Le Mans chicane in the bus stop, forcing Delatraz off track in the grass, and Herta through to the lead. Race control looked at the incident and decided no action was necessary, giving Herta his fellow IndyCar competitors, Pato O'Ward and Devlin DeFrancesco, along with teammate Eric Lux, a big win for Dragon Speed in LMP2. Did race control make the right call by deciding to not take any action against Herta for his aggressive move on Delatraz?
Yep. I will say that race control did the right thing. It was just pure racing. It was a racing move. And that LMP2 battle, wowee, what a race. Dragon Speed USA with Eric Lux and those 3 IndyCar drivers. And that car was not hard to miss at all. But I believe race control did the right thing and allowed them to race. And it was just an incredible battle between those two in LMP2. Wowee, what a race.
Yeah, I would have to agree with Adam. What a great race. I think it was the right call by race control to just rule it a racing incident. I truly believe it was. When you're coming down to the wire like that, coming down to the finish, you just got to throw it all out there and see what sticks. And Colton, with his cool aggression, was able to get in there and, make it stick. And, I think maybe Delatraz, just maybe panicked a little bit, or maybe got a little bump and didn't react right. And I mean, and that's just racing. I think he did a great job. He had a great drive through the whole race, and it was fun to watch them swap positions. But, in the end, I personally was really excited to see her on top. And, glad though that Delatraz did get going again right away and, didn't lose a position other than, it didn't lose the podium, I should say. But yeah, I think that was the right call by race control. And I was excited to see the end of that. There were exciting finishes in every class, and that doesn't always happen in this race. So that was pretty cool.
It was a really exciting end to the race as well. That last safety car as well just put everything up in the air in terms of the battles across everything. Yeah, I think race control made the right decision. They made the similar decisions throughout the race not to investigate accidents like that. It was a racing maneuver. He was going for it as well. That Dragon Speed was competitive throughout the entire race. I was really happy to see her to get ahead. I mean, yeah, Delatraz, it was sort of a squeezing position, but I'd give Colton Herta that. We've seen Colton in IndyCar as well. We know he does these type of late maneuvers. He's a bit like Ayrton Senna. He'll go in a position. It's up to the other driver to decide if you want to crash or not. But Herta was fantastic. The entire Dragon Speed squad was simply in another class day in LMP2.
And while DPI and LMP2 produce exciting battles, I think it's safe to say that GTD Pro stole the show all race long, close intense battles among the different types of manufacturers. However, the class of the field were definitely the Porsche 911 GT3Rs, specifically Pfaff Motorsports and KCMG. Both lineups of factory drivers, some of the best that GT racing has to offer. The number 2 KCMG Porsche and the number 9 Pfaff Motorsports Porsche went back and forth, going at it hard during the final hours. They even made contact several times, or as Calvin Fish likes to say, argy bargy. Matthew Jomine and Lawrence Van Thor put on a show for everyone watching around the world, both drivers leaving it all out on the track. And this is the kind of battle where you either bring back the checker flag or the steering wheel. Lots of rubbing between the two Porsches, almost like the finish of a NASCAR stock car race. On the final lap, Jomine and Van Thor side by side through the Le Mans chicane. It looked like it was going to end in tears, and it did for KCMG. Contact in the grass, Van Thor goes spinning, and Jomine survived to win GTD Pro for Pfaff Motorsports and his co-drivers, Matt Campbell and Felipe Nasr. This incident caused Van Thor to drop to third in class. Risi Competizione got second. The Ferrari was really strong during the nighttime hours with the bitter cold temperatures. Yesterday on GRIDnet pre-race, we anticipated something special happening with the new GTD Pro class. Did it have the grand entrance you expected and live up to all the hype?
Well, unfortunately, I wasn't on the pre-race show yesterday, and my GT class knowledge is a little bit lower than my knowledge of the prototype. So I'll certainly defer to Aaron and some of the others here in terms of it, whether or not it lived up to the hype. But certainly from a fan's perspective, watching that finish, I mean, obviously everybody was so caught up in what was happening with Elio and Shank and Wayne Taylor Racing fighting for the win. But once Elio pulled away, all the attention was on the GTD Pro class, and what a battle it was between the two Porsches. I think some people even compared it to watching a NASCAR race with how close the action was and how much contact the two of them were making. So certainly, just speaking from a fan's perspective, absolutely a great show that the Porsche teams put on. And I've got to imagine it lived up to the hype, but I guess we'll hear what the others have to say there.
Yeah, I absolutely enjoyed watching the whole race, but particularly the finish there in the GTD Pro class. And I think overall, the GTD racing absolutely lived up to the hype. I personally really enjoy watching different classes in the same machinery compete with each other. So I think that, just added an extra element. GTLM was always exciting to watch, but, just watching them blow by the GTD cars with their pro driver lineups, was kind of less exciting for me than it was to see the, both the pro and the pro-am lineups in the same machinery battling it out in some cases, or having to make strategy decisions like Jan Halen had to do there near the end in the last couple hours while he was following Yamane and Vantor. So I personally really enjoyed it. I think that the last battle obviously was just great fun. And I personally, I think it comes down not just to the cars, but obviously Porsche was strong this year. They're always strong, but sometimes it comes down to either the teams and their strategy or just luck in this case. But I was personally really happy to see FAF on top. I think they're a great program, and I think we're going to see a lot more from them. I hope they have a great season this year. And I was, as a GTD driver myself, to watch Yamane stay in control at that last incident and keep it on the track and be able to finish so strong, was just really exciting for me, because I know that that's not easy to do. When you're coming down to the wire like that, you got a lot of adrenaline going, and he just stayed super cool. And even after having swapped positions, he was just right there, focused, and was able to take that win. That's what this race is all about, and it's particularly exciting with so much focus always on the front of the grid with the DPI cars. It was fun for me to see the GTD class get so much attention and kind of be highlighted there at the end for what I know is always really great racing in those classes.
Yeah, I'll agree with you, Aaron. And that GTD finish, wow, you think you were at a NASCAR race with the number 9 Porsche and the number 2 Porsche. I even saw online some of the sheet metal damage after the race, and boy, oh boy, this class, it was incredible seeing number 9 Fab Porsche and their drivers, Felipe Nasr, Domine, and Matt Campbell from New Zealand, duking out with the number 2 Porsche and Lauren Fanthor. It was awesome, incredible, and I'm glad that they gave like you said, Aaron, a lot of coverage to that class. I was on the edge of my seat just to see how the GTD Pro class would go. After this, if you're not an IMSA fan, you need to get on board, because I think this entire season, after what we saw at the Rolex 24 Hours Daytona, it's going to be an exciting season in the IMSA WeatherTech Sports Car Championship.
And to bounce off what Adam and Aaron was saying, I thought it was really wonderful that NBC gave the GT classes so much coverage this year, because in the past, especially with IMSA, it's typically prototype this and prototype that, and the GT classes rarely get the same amount of coverage, maybe not even 1/3 of the same coverage that the prototypes do. And I understand why the prototypes get the amount of coverage they do, obviously because it's the premier class of the series with all of the manufacturers who are bringing in the big bucks. But as Aaron said, there's some incredible racing in the GT class. I think GTD Pro definitely lived up to the hype. I was on the edge of my seat watching Jomine and Van Thor go at it in the closing stages of the race. The contact down in the infield, that they were going to wreck there. A lot of bumping and banging that, like you see in stock car races, RG bargy, all of that. It was super intense. And as soon as I got side by side heading to Le Mans chicane, I'm thinking they're not going to make it. They're gonna touch, and it's not gonna end well. And well, for Jomine, they're on top of the world right now, Fast Motorsports. But Van Thor, he's probably wondering what could have done. But I don't think Lawrence Van Thor and KCMG, they don't have anything to be ashamed about, because he left it out there all on the track. And as a race car driver, that's exactly what you were supposed to do. So Lawrence Van Thor perfectly did his job. And looking at the other class results in GTD, the Pro-Am class, Wright Motorsports continued its winning ways, holding off the Magnus Racing, Aston Martin, the number 16 Porsche, Jan Halen, Richard Leeds, Zachary Robichon, and Ryan Hart with a hard-earned GTD class win in LMP3. Another victory for Riley Motorsports, the number 74 Ligier, Gar Robinson, Felipe Fraga, K. Van Berla, and Aaron's co-driver in GT World Challenge America last year, Michael Cooper, got the win at the World Center of Racing. Aaron, how did it feel watching Michael score the LMP3 class victory?
Yeah, that was super exciting too. I mean, like every class that was running in the race this weekend, I got my wish just about for who I would have wanted to see on top. So I was really proud to see Riley do so well. They had such a clean race. They actually didn't get a lot of screen time because of that. The LMP3 class was, was a fairly calm race, and they just did everything right through the whole race and had a lot of great laps and a lot of great driver changes, and the car did well, and that's all it takes in endurance racing. So I'm just really proud of them. I'm so excited for Michael to have had this opportunity and to be out there in the real big leagues where he belongs. So that was really cool. And while I'm here, before we move on to the Formula E segment, I'm going to give my assessment of the shining moment, if that's all right. All right, because I'm going to sign off after this. So for me, the shining moment was definitely that last 2 or 3 laps with Yamane and Vanthoor at the end. Yeah, I think they both showed some amazing talent, some amazing driving, and to be able to battle that closely for that many laps. I mean, it was many laps before that. It was hours before that they were running nose to tail, and to see them swap positions and just see this skill and aplomb and knowing the kind of focus that it takes to be able to do that, especially at the end of a 24-hour race, was just really exciting. And I think personally that's what endurance racing, especially IMSA and this kind of racing, needs when we're having the multi-class racing, to have some focus on all the classes so that the fans understand what's really going on at every level. And personally, I think that would draw more fans in to understand, well, why are there 60 cars and we're only seeing 2 or 3 or 5 being highlighted. So I thought it was really great on so many levels to watch that happen. So that was my shining moment of the race.
Erin, can I just stop you before you go off a second? It's very rare I get to talk to a racing driver, especially with the pandemic. I want to get your thoughts on, as a racing driver as well. I was calling the race with Matt White, who's a fellow pundit on this channel. And I was saying as well, we had, even before that last caution, it was like something like an hour and 20 minutes. Vanthoor was stuck behind Jaminet as well. How much of a psychological battle was that? Because I was calling in the race was the fact that it's the same car as you're driving. So you're going to start thinking mentally, it's me. I can't get past him. He's a better driver. What's that like from a driver's point of view? How do you keep yourself calm and stop yourself from thinking, I'm a worse driver here?
Yeah, I don't even know if it comes down to that. I think as drivers, we probably have so much ego. We're not so much worried about whether who's better or who's worse. I think it's just knowing that, that it's not easy to get the advantage, knowing that you still have an hour left. And sometimes swapping positions could actually be a disadvantage. Actually, from Vanthoor's position, sometimes it's a lot easier to be the second car in line. It's a lot easier to be the car that's following. So actually, I think, he probably played it right. I think he was hoping to get to the end and be able to make his big move and not have to do any defensive driving, really, because that's what wears your tires down. And that's what wears you down as a driver, is constantly having to balance what's behind you and what's in front of you. Whereas, he was pretty much able to focus forward, other than, occasionally having to let lapping traffic by. So I'm not sure it comes down so much to our evaluation of ourselves so much as the evaluation of the machinery and the strategy, and trying to understand what's really at stake and how to play the game in the long game.
I've spoken with as many drivers as probably you have as well. I think I know the answer to this one. Last lap, would you have gone for the same maneuver that Vanthoor did?
Yeah, I probably would have. At that point, you don't have any more time, and you have been waiting, and you've been so patient, and you just can't be patient anymore. You got to give it a try. So yeah, I think he did what we all would have done, and
I agree.
That's great racing.
Yep.
Amazing stuff. Aaron, thank you so much for your time. We super appreciate it. We encourage everyone, link to Aaron Vogel's racing website in the video description, as well as her Twitter as well. Thank you so much, Aaron. We'll see you definitely next time right here on the Grid Network. And of course, we thank everyone for tuning in for the IMSA portion. Now we're shifting gears over to ABB Formula E. Their season is now underway, and the defending world champion Nick DeVries took advantage of a A mistake we see quite a bit in Formula E, the lead driver or any driver going for the attack zone, they miss one of the bars just barely, and they don't get the attack mode boost. They lose a position, and then they're going to lose more ground, and that's what happened to Stoffel Van Dorn. Lost the lead to Nick DeVries, and Nick DeVries never looked back, took the win. Jake Dennis came home third. But many were wondering if he could have been held up by Andre Lauter because he was making positions and it seemed like he was gaining ground. Typically, physical racing in Formula E, and we saw plenty of that in both races. And a big shout out to Oliver Askew, first Formula E race, the lone American that's racing full time there, 17th to 9th place in the race. And of course, Formula E, they're speeding, they're banging. It's hard to make those moves. So big thumbs up for him. And definitely he scores some grid ranking performance points. But then race two, and this is where things start to get a little crazy, and this seems to always be the case. De Vries won the pole by 0.005 thousandths of a second over Eduardo Mortara. He was not going to be denied. We saw physical, big time physical racing. Nick De Vries, Lucas Di Grassi, side by side, beating and banging for the lead, making lots of contact. Mortara got around them both. However, an unusual event, and this seems to happen. Alexander Sims, Mahindra, spins around, brings out the safety car, and poor communication as we saw. Cars were coming around this corner as the safety crew, had a tractor out there. Sims' car suspended in the air, and cars were starting to stack up, drivers slowing down, stopping, not a lot of people knowing what was going on. The race ended under the safety car. Motora takes the win. Venturi won 3 with Degrassi in third, and we saw Fringe in the Envision car without Virgin sponsorship. They got second place. And one of the big things, Venturi, they lead the constructors and the point standings right now with Motora having the lead. And one of the things, of course, the Wheel of Destiny, as we use for pick a winner, it was correct for race 1, but Edward Hunter in race 2 did not use the wheel, and he is on the leaderboard as well. A bunch of other people that correctly guessed Marshank Racing. There's everyone to participate in that. But wow, Joshua, I gotta start with you. Is Motora an underdog for the 2022 ABB Formula E World Championship?
He was fastest in the preseason testing, which I thought was quite good. He was quick off the bounce in the first couple of practice sessions we had Thursday evening and Friday morning. Qualifying number 1 didn't go really as to plan as I thought it would as well. He did struggle quite a bit as well. Just looking here on my notes that, I love to make on it as well. He didn't get through to the quarterfinals as well. He was 6th in Group B. So he started that race down in 12th place. Had an okay race 1. And then race 2, bang, he was off straight away. So glad my pick of Mortara to win race 2 picked off. Yes. You get that one, Ed. I didn't predict that. But Ed was in the watch-along commentary that I was doing as well, not on the comms box. He was in the YouTube chat, and he was saying as well about how Degrassi was playing the team game ahead of Mortara. I think even Degrassi knows as well it's going to take a little bit of time for him to get used to this Venturi car, so it was better to help Mortara early on in the season. Yes, absolutely. I think Mortara could challenge Mercedes this year. The Mercedes powertrain is just so competitive. That's 2 wins on the bounce for that engine as well, or that power unit, battery power as well. We had De Vries in race 1. He took pole position. We had Mortara winning race 2. So if you think about it, pole race 1 was Van Dorn, and then De Vries won. Pole race 2, De Vries, and with Mortara winning race 2. It's Mercedes domination. So it's logic dictates. It's going to be between Mortara and De Vries as well. Van Dorn had a shocker race 2 as well. So it's going to ebb and flow, but Mortara remains more consistent. And certainly, I think I'll pick him to be this year's champion. He's got the experience. He's won Macau. He's won Hong Kong as well. He's won 3 races now. He is a serious challenger. Nick De Vries only won 3 races as well. Second, of course, in last year's championship, behind Nick De Vries.
Yeah, I'll agree. I'll agree with you, Josh. Eduardo Montara, I think he will be a strong contender for the Formula E World Championship, and I think he can win a few more races. It was really it. It was an exciting race. We have a comment from our colleague Edward Hunter from Formula E Zone. He said that Diria really played into the strength of the Mercedes. I think Envision, Jaguar, Fiesta Cheetah, and Andretti are not far behind, though. I'll agree with you, Ed. It was just the first two races of the season. It was just the first two races of the season. We got a long, long way to go. But I think we saw some of this. I think this weekend, Nick DeFries won the Formula E World Championship last year. Don't be surprised if he's contending for the championship at the end of the year when we get to Seoul, South Korea. And looking at the top 10 standings, all 10 of those drivers, yeah, I believe they will win races and obviously compete for this year's championship. We saw a crazy championship last year. Don't be surprised if it happens in 2022.
When it comes to Mortara and this championship, I don't see him as an underdog. He has the experience. And I think Venturi with the Mercedes powertrain, I mean, last year we saw how they were up there. Mortara, second place. He has really progressed from his first season and all the time with Venturi. Venturi, they got the Ambrosio over there now. They got Wolf, Lucas Degrassi, a lot of experience in Formula E with that team. So I think he probably one of the favorites to win it. So over the silent favorite, I know a lot of times when we see Formula E advertisements, there's the Cheetah drivers, the Audi drivers when they're around. Jaguar is always in the mix. We don't see a whole lot of Venturi. I think they're going to be changing that, and I will not be surprised if Mortara is a contender at season end. Of course, right now he leads the Formula E standings by 4 points. In our in-house grid rating of Formula E, he has a bigger lead. Of course, started further back in race 1, gained 6 positions, and then his performance in race 2 better than Nick DeFries. So he has a little bit of a higher lead in our ratings. But one of the big things, of course, is the change that we saw is qualifying. You don't have a situation where you're in the top 5, top 6 in the first round. You're going to be in the dreaded Group 1. Van Dorn, Jake Dennis, Degrassi, all of them top 5 finishes, and all of them scored points in both races, starting up front, which last year would have been a completely different story with that all qualifying format. DeFries, Dennis, Van Dorn, they would have all been in Group 1 had it been 1 year ago. Definitely got to ask you, Josh, has the balance of power, especially with the new qualifying changes, shifted from back, middle of the pack to now, if your team is fast, you're going to be towards the front?
Yeah, I was discussing this earlier on with some guys from Formula E Zone as well, and I agree with what they say as well, is the fact that this qualifying format now removes everything we had a problem with the group stages of different track temperatures at different times. It splits up the drivers very equally as well. It makes it make sense. The one thing, though, as well, that I have a problem with it is that if you look, it's too complicated to follow on paper. And that was race 1 as well. So it's quite difficult to follow on paper, but it works fantastically on television. I said about the timings could be shortened down a bit because I thought it was a bit too long, an hour and 15 minutes, when it could really be crammed down to about 45, maybe 50. Ed says as well, I feel like Adam is telling us not to be surprised when Formula E is a series all about surprises. That's a good point there. Formula E, anything can happen. Adam, you might have to up your game there, Valon. But no, I think, yeah, I completely agree. This qualifying format now finally rewards drivers with the faster cars. It finally gives drivers competitive edges if you can bang in 4 straight qualifying laps, because you've got to get through Group 1, you've got to get through the quarterfinal, you've got to get through the semi-final, and then you've got to get through the final. If you do all that, then yeah, you deserve to be on pole position. We've got the top 2 in the championship who went through the last duel, and there was 5,000s between them, as you said, Joe. And now we've got Mortara leading the title as a result of that. So it's very, very good. And I'm very much looking forward to seeing how it works in Mexico. It's going to adjust as it goes. I think the times need to come down a bit because we were waiting around, 10 minutes for the final. We don't need to do that. The teams were changing tyres in qualifying number 1. You've only got 2 sets of tyres. Why do you need to change them? You're just going to be running the same anyway later. It needs refining. I think the drivers need to stop having a say in the way the format goes. That never works. Bring the time down. It's a banger. Fantastic qualifying format. Absolutely love it. They've aced a qualifying format for me.
Yeah, Josh, I don't know how much I can really add there. That was a very good explanation of it all. And I think you're absolutely right. It is a little complicated, particularly, I guess, for casual fans to try to all put together on paper. But it certainly works. And, we're obviously only just one race weekend in. We've seen a lot of parity in Formula E, particularly last year. So I think we need to get a few races under our belts here and truly see if it's going to make that much of a difference, like Joe posed in the original question here. But certainly in terms of this format, I think, like you said, a little complicated on paper, but I think it works very well.
Ben, I absolutely love your camera angle, by the way, my friend. I'm loving it. I love it.
I've got to work on my camera settings here. I'm a little more zoomed in. I just got a brand new MacBook Pro that I'm working on for 2022.
I was going to say,
it is a little bit more high def, I hope. So
Yeah,
I've upgraded from the MacBook Air I've had the last 4 years.
I like it.
I'm very tempted to add something in the background with the pure green screen. You're leaving yourself wide open here for what we could do for some of these shows.
Like me.
Yeah.
Well, that's all natural.
Right,
you got to talk to my family about that one. They picked the wall color here for our room here, so it's
they're geniuses.
It might be I mean, it's been this way for 10 years, but now it's got we got like a pre-built-in green screen behind me, so
I'm loving it. I want that.
Yeah, I love that. Love it.
Great stuff. We got a comment in the chat from Ed. I think in the coming years, we will see this qualifying format exactly like the knockout format in F1 and will become second nature. And I got to agree, because I remember when F1 introduced the knockout qualifying, I'll be honest, I was one of those people. I liked the single one run because you're on the edge of the seat. Will they get the pole? But especially the pole battle between Montara and Nick DeVries, I think it was a great visualization y'all saw as the times were coming close and their emoji cons were getting closer and closer, and then it just showed her the timing. That's sometimes I feel F1, the casual fan, don't really get to see a whole lot, where the graphics package they had, great visualization, and was very simple. Who's going to be the fastest out of these teams? They go to the next round. Great for television. I think they'll definitely refine it, especially when it comes to the timing. Now, especially in the preseason, this was a big talking point, like, this seems a bit gimmicky, but it seems to be a big winner. One controversy we've been hearing about was at the end with the safety car, the tractor, Sim's car suspended in the air as the other cars were coming by. We saw John-Eric Verne, other drivers, voice their disbelief in how this was all handled. And considering the aspect about safety and incidents like this, Ben, were you sort of shocked by this? And how does Formula E respond? Because we've been coming to Daria for quite some time. This isn't just a one-time first year at the track. We've been here quite a few years.
Yeah, it is very surprising, Joe, and it's concerning. I think it's kind of upsetting to bring up and talk about, but I saw a lot of people making the comparisons to Jules Bianchi and his accident that proved to be fatal with the crane being on the track. And, I think a lot of times when these things happen in racing, we look at them and we adapt and we make changes to keep them from happening again. And, if you want to make an IndyCar comparison, you can talk about Justin Wilson's death and the nose cone of Sage Karam's car striking him in the helmet. And now we have the aero screen on the IndyCar series and the halo on the Formula One cars. That's just one example of many. I think of James Hinchcliffe's accident at the Indy 500 practice in 2015. IndyCar went in and immediately modified the suspensions to make sure that the piece that that went into Hinchcliffe would never do anything like that again to another driver. So you look at what happened to Bianchi and the controversies that have happened with these cranes being exposed while drivers are exposed on the track. The fact that it's 8 years later now in 2022 and we're still having issues with this, and particularly like you said, at a track that Formula E has been to before, something needs to be addressed, and I think Formula E have quite a bit of explaining to do as to why that happened, because when it comes to safety in motorsports, you can keep improving and keep innovating as much as you can. We know it's never absolutely going to be surefire, 100% safe, but you cannot let your foot off the gas. No pun intended. No pun intended there. When it comes to improving safety, and something like this is simply unacceptable. I know it sounds harsh, but quite frankly, it's the truth.
Yeah, I'll agree with you on everything you said. I'll agree with everything you said. And we have a comment from Ed Hunter from Formula E Zone. And he said that the Saudi Motorsport Foundation decided to train their own marshals for this year. Keep in mind, this is largely the same team marshaling the F1 event in Jeddah. I can't believe this. You mentioned Justin Wilson's death. You mentioned Jules Bianchi. I remember what happened with both those drivers, and I think what Formula E needs to do is have maybe like a caution, have like a caution flag, until say a crane is off the racing facility, so it can be a lot safer, because we don't need to see another incident like we saw with Justin Wilson and Jules Bianchi.
I mean, I'll throw in that quick as well. I was the one as well. I don't know if you were watching Benson at the time. I said about it at the time, when the car was dangling of Sims as the drivers were going by, and I was like, have we learned nothing since Jules Bianchi's accident? Have we learned nothing? I mean, not even that. Jules' accident should never have happened in the first place, because it nearly happened to Scott Speed in the Nürburgring in 2007. Every time a tractor is needed, or a digger, or anything like that is needed on the track, you red flag the race. Especially here at Diriyah. A couple of years ago, Scott Elkins brought the safety car in and went back to green flag running, not knowing that Nick Cassidy's Virgin racing car was still on the circuit, with marshals all the way around blocking the track at the same segment of track, with the crane on there, with the car up in the air. He came on the radio so quickly saying, "Attention, full caution, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1," like that. How are these mistakes still happening? It's still happening in Diriyah. It's ridiculous. I agree with what Ed says as well about the fact that if the Saudis have trained their own marshals, they need to go back to school. I'm sorry, that's ridiculous.
Thank you.
It was absolutely horrible. The British marshals, best in the world, they would never have made that mistake. They train other countries around the world. I think we need to get some British marshals over there, train the Saudis, because that is not acceptable. And I hope the FIA take a look into themselves about this again. We've been saying that a lot recently, haven't we, about the FIA? But that could have killed someone. Not only that, I don't know if you spotted it, but in front of the tractor, there was also a marshal just casually walking along, looking along as well, guiding the tractor in. It was ridiculous. And the safety car had to slam on the brakes. The cars ran into each other. They all said it was too dangerous. It's ridiculous. You don't put marshals on the track. You don't put diggers on the track. You don't let the safety car become a danger car by braking and backing the pack up. Askew lost a front winglet. It could have been a wheel. He could have gone over the back. We could have had what we had in Rome. That race should have been red flagged. Maybe not even restarted, but it should have been handled a lot differently. That type of the track, it's like a bobsleigh run. It's tight, it's narrow. We've seen. I was saying as well in the commentary about it happened a couple of years ago. In that instance, it should have been a red flag. And Josh Placeball said even Vern tweeted about it. Yeah, I did see that one as well. He said as well, have we learned nothing in 8 years? It's ridiculous. And I'm hoping if we do come back to Saudi, that they've got different marshals and maybe even smarter regulations. Because Scott Elkin was sleeping because the safety car wasn't even deployed for 45 seconds.
Yeah, a lot going on in the Indian down race. We also have from Ed. I would say the Saudis should have done what they usually do and hire marshals from Bahrain and Abu Dhabi who have so much experience. And of course, we know the marshals at Bahrain as well as the fire crew very vital for what happened in keeping essentially Roman grudge on the ability to keep racing. Joshua, it looks like you have a point as well
Yeah,
about this.
if these are the same marshals that did the F1 race from Saudi Arabia, then they're the same marshals who reported to the race director that they need to stop the race to repair the air fence when the air fence wasn't damaged. All I'm saying. If it's those marshals, then clearly there's a pattern developing here that they don't know what they're doing. So I think that needs to change. I'm with Ed on that one, 110%.
Same here.
One of the big things when it comes, of course, I think one of the big things, yes, we definitely it is an important role. Definitely, when there's mess ups, we have to address it as well. We also got to realize too, these are volunteers. Definitely, without the volunteers, we wouldn't be racing. But I have to agree with everyone that this should have not happened. I couldn't believe seeing the images when I saw Sim's car up in the air, and here comes the field going by, stacking up, causing all this confusion. And of course, with the marshals, they need to talk to these marshals. Definitely, I think better training, get the folks from Dubai, Bahrain, get some improvements done because we need it. And I'm speaking about marshals. I know during the Rolex 24 hours, there was a crash early on in the race where we did see what appears to be a marshal that got hurt during the race. Now, thankfully, we heard that he went to the hospital, but is expected to be okay. And of course, one of the big things, we always are grateful for the marshals for everything they do, but still, of course, when there's room for improvement, especially not only with the marshals, the race directors, we need to look at what's going on. And we know there's going to be possibly FIA news about a certain race director, which we won't get into. We'll save that for Grid Tonight with Adam and Kobe every Wednesday. We encourage everyone to subscribe to the Grid Network. So when that news breaks, we'll have all the reporting for you. And a couple surprises, positive surprises from this race weekend. Oliver Askew, as I mentioned in race 1, 17th to 9th place. Fringe, podium in race 2. Envision, they lost a major backing from Virgin sponsorship. Great effort for them. Jake Dennis, Lucas deGrassi, they are the only two drivers right now with a 100% top 5 finish race. Them, along with Martora, De Vries, Van Dorn, and John-Eric Verne, all have 100% top 10 finish rate. But some of the disappointments we have to talk about as well. Antonio Felix da Costa, no points scored this weekend. Sebastian Buemi, Gunther, no points for Nissan. Mitch Evans, 1 point, just 1 point. Adam, I gotta start with you. Especially, we have this qualifying effort, so you're no longer starting towards the back and having to make up so much ground if you had a good race. How disappointing is it now to come away with just 1 point or no points, especially since you can't say, well, we were at a disadvantage with qualifying?
I'm surprised I'm surprised Antonio Felix da Costa didn't score any points. He was up there last year in contention for the FIA Formula E World Championship, but it's only the first round of the season. I believe everyone is entitled to a bad round, and I believe Antonio Felix da Costa will bounce back. And you were mentioning Sebastian Buemi and Max Gunther. I believe I had Max Gunther winning race 1, thanks to the Wheel of Destiny. And also I had Dan Ticktum in race 2. So, my Formula E picks didn't go like I planned. But like I said, it's only the first round of the season. We still got a long way to go. And I believe Antonio Felix da Costa will be a contender for the Formula E World Championship as we progress into this 2022 season.
Yeah, I think anytime you start the year finishing outside the points or having a down weekend, it can certainly be a major disappointment. That being said, it's the first race, or the first race weekend in this case, and it gives you maximum amount of time to bounce back from that and recover. So it's got to be a disappointment not to be able to use that momentum, and we can see momentum is obviously a big thing in the world of sports, can make all the difference sometimes. But at the same time, you've got an opportunity to bounce back. It is just the first weekend of the year, and there's a lot of time to recover for these teams that are faced with this disappointment after missing out on points in Saudi Arabia.
I'll throw in as well Sam Bird, a fantastic race 1 and a very bad race 2 as well, further back towards the field as well. Ed says, I felt that Oliver Askew and Dan Tickton both did really well as rookies. Askew scored points in a quick car and Tickton beat his more experienced teammate. Yeah, I'd agree with that actually, because I thought Oliver Askew started race 1 down in 17th, ended in 9th place. Mind blows about how good he was in race 1. Race 2, he did okay. First weekend, I think you can't blame it on. It was a crazy race 2. Oops, glitching. The computer's been on for a while. And Dan Tickton as well, getting used to the Formula E car. Giovinazzi, you can't really say he had a bad weekend. He's still getting used to the car. He spoke to Hazel Southwell as well and said that I'm still learning. It's going to take me a long time to get used to this car and this format. Sebastian Buemi, I said as well, I can see him mainly focusing on World Endurance Championship this year rather than Formula E. I think he's going to leave it as well. This is the last year of the Gen 2 cars, and Nissan really going to throw around trying to improve this car. They want to focus mainly on Gen 3 and getting that right, especially with Maserati coming in as well next season. Mitch Evans, disappointment. He was sort of knocked into the walls all the time. Nick Cassidy as well was another disappointment for me. He was quick in race 1. Race 2, put it in the wall in the free practice 3 session. Gunther, he was really here, there, and everywhere, wasn't he? Across everything. But my top at the moment as well, as you said about DeCosta not having any points. He'll bounce back. He's an cheater. We saw what that can do with Jean-Eric Verne. My big up, though, Jake Dennis. Ed said it earlier on as well in the Andretti. That car just looks so fast as well. And once they get into a swing of things with Askew caught up, I think him and Askew, like what we saw with Degrassi and Mortara, they can work together and start fighting their way through the field. There's still 14 rounds to go. Quite a few double headers as well, which means we're going to get an interesting second race. It's going to get fantastic. I can't wait for the rest of this year. Mexico's in 2 weeks as well. I want it now.
Yeah, Mexico in 2 weeks. That's going to be really exciting. A couple of comments in the chat room. Edward was concerned your computer is starting to melt down, Joshua. So
I know. I've just updated the RAM as well. So it's running on 20 gig RAM and it should be going through the graphics card. I think it's because it's been on for over 48 hours now because I've done the 24 hours as well with Matt. So it's gone through there. But it looks like I'm okay. Let's blame the wind. There's a lot of wind around. It's blowing my commentary box around.
Wind, weather. I know Kobe and Adam had snow this weekend. Oh man, weather, and of course Joshua plays. Huge respect for the marshals, but these mess ups need to be sorted, and definitely I think that's a sentiment everyone agrees with. And I have to agree. I think with y'all play some big points, especially I feel DaCosta going out so early in that one race. That's tough. No points, but it is so early, and with the speed that they have, I don't think they're going to be an issue, even though if we had the last year point system, Antonio Felix DaCosta would be in the ideal final group, but he has the speed. I think he could definitely pull off, start gaining and clawing his way to the championship. And of course, we encourage everyone to be sure to tune in to Grid Life, as we'll follow Formula E all season long, as well as IMSA all season long with IMSA special programming and all Grid Live networks as we follow the grid ranking leading up to the first Sunday of April 3rd, 2022, week 1. But now it's time for week 1 of our Grid One Shining Moment.
That's right, Joe. It's time for the first weekend. It's time for our first Grid One Shining Moment of this motorsports season. And we saw an outstanding motorsports weekend with the Rolex 24 Hours at Daytona and the 2 FIA Formula E races in Saudi Arabia. So I'll start with you, Ben. After this awesome weekend of motorsports, What's your grid one shining moment?
Well, you're gonna have to forgive me for taking the easy one, but I've got to go with Elio Castroneves. What this guy is doing, turning 47 in just a few months, is nothing short of incredible. The last 365 days, he's won the Rolex 24 with Wayne Taylor Racing. He won his record-tying fourth Indianapolis 500. Just a few months after that, he found himself back in the IndyCar Series full-time with Meyer Shank Racing, and now he comes to Shank's sports car program and wins another Rolex 24 Hours of Daytona. And to be doing it all at the age that he's doing, it reminds me of another guy that's been in the news a little bit this weekend, Tom Brady. Is he retiring? Is he not retiring? And what Brady's done into his mid-40s, Elio, in a sport that I think is absolutely, physically demanding, particularly in divisions such as open wheel and sports car racing, to be doing what he's doing into his mid-40s. He's driving better than he was arguably in his mid-20s. And, it's just unbelievable to see everything that he's accomplishing at this age. I think he easily has another 3 to 5 years at least. We could be seeing him, particularly on the sports car side, doing this into his 50s as well. So for Elio to get another Rolex 24 win, couldn't be happier for him and the Shank team. And like we talked at the start of the show, that team is certainly a team that I think you've got to put a lot of stock into right now, because it's only going to go up from here.
I've got two. One's the actual one shining moment, and one's a personal note. On the racing side of things, I think I want to shout out Lucas de Grassi, because his first weekend with a brand new team at Venturi as well, he played the team game yesterday absolutely beautifully. He got the lead, but then he gave it up to Eduardo Mortara. It was quite clearly team games. De Grassi was able to hold off the attack from Mortara, with Cassidy attacking De Grassi and Nick de Vries coming back. De Grassi beautifully played the team game. He did it beautifully to let the constructors go ahead. A sign of maturity from Lucas I'm very proud of. And on the personal note, I want to give a big shout out for everyone at the USRN network for around the radio for covering the entire 24 Hours of Daytona for fans on the radio as well. It was a pleasure to be on the team with Matt White, who's our pundit here on the GRIDnet network as well. Fantastic job to them all as well. I worked with Matt and Matthew as well for most of the race. 14 hours we did as well. It was a lot of fun and great job from those guys as well from that radio call. It was an absolute pleasure. I think they deserve a massive round of applause, because we all know what it's like to do 24. Kobe as well up there. Massive well done, sir. I was looking at your tweets all night. Massive well done, sir, for your coverage as well.
Thank you.
And I think it's people like that make dedicate their time, and it's fantastic for fans. And I think they've got a very good product there, and I've enjoyed commentating with them today.
Definitely. Our friends at Ultimate Sports Radio Network, we encourage everyone to be sure to follow them as Grid Live does play. There are a couple comments from the chat room. Edward Hunter, one of the important things, there was no missiles thrown at the circuit this year. Thank goodness for that. And the Formula E. Also, I would go a step further. Helio reminds me of Juan Manuel Fangio, winning championships in his late 40s. So definitely, we're getting some great comments, and we want to encourage everyone to share your comments on the air with us. For my one shining moment, this is one where I would not be surprised some others think of this as well. Robert Wickens. Last time we saw him in a race car before this weekend, it was at Pocono. It was with the IndyCar season. He was talked as one of the fastest rookies in the series, and that frightening accident changed his career. He came back, he got a podium, using hand controls behind the steering wheel, so essentially the paddle shifts, throttles as well, everything. First race back, a third place finish. I cannot wait to see more of Robert Wickens in the future. It's such an inspiration, and I think it really shows. We know in motorsports there's always the talk about if you're not performing, somebody else's sponsorship money, somebody else's backing is going to replace you. We've seen that all over. With Robert Wickens, though, that's the story where we've seen a lot of people rally and support him and encourage him to keep racing and make an effort to keep him behind the wheels. So that is my one shining moment.
Yes, it was a really special weekend for Robert Wickens. And looking at the lap times, you can hardly tell Robert Wickens left because he was one of the fastest drivers in the TCR class, and that's no and that actually should not surprise us at all. Really looking forward to seeing Wickens go for the TCR championship this year in IMSA Michelin Pilot Challenge, and we'll see where this takes him. From Alex Zanardi, we know you can fit the hand controls inside a GT car. Well, a GT3, well, we don't have GTE anymore in IMSA, but if I like to see Robert Wickens in the future try his hand at GTD Pro and see how he keeps up with all those factory drivers, or maybe if it's possible, put him in one of those new prototypes. And since the high horsepower, high downforce prototypes really suits his driving style, I think he'd do really well with those if they're able to get the system set up in one of these new GTP Le Mans hypercar style prototypes. But getting into my grip one shining moment, it definitely has to be the GTD Pro class. The racing in that class was absolutely phenomenal. It reminded me of the old days of GTLM in its prime, where you saw all of these great battles all throughout the race. I know over halfway through the race, we still had 7 GTD Pro cars on the lead lap, and then when I woke up, still had the two Porsches going at it nose to tail. It was such a spectacular show. I'm not sure how many full season entries we're gonna have in GTD Pro this year, but no matter if it doesn't matter if it's like five. I know it's gonna be more than five, but if it's like 7, 8 for the whole season and a few here and there for the Enduro, Sebring, Watkins Glen, Petite Le Mans, I think it's gonna be fantastic. And this All Pro category that IMSA created this year, it's really has a lot of potential for the future, and to see the growth in the GT class this year and looking towards next year with GTP and Hypercar. I have a feeling IMSA is gonna have to do what they do with the 24 Hours of Le Mans, where they're gonna have to set up a max entry list, and they're gonna have to put like 10 teams on the reserve list because it's gonna be stacked in the prototype class, especially if we keep the current health of GT. So they're gonna have to make some tough decisions next year in deciding who gets to run the Rolex 24 because I have a feeling they're gonna have a lot of teams on the sidelines.
Yeah, and for me, I have two shining moments. First of all, I'll also give a call to Robert Wickens. What an incredible drive! Uh, Coming back after his horrific accident at Pocono and scoring a third place finish in the Michelin Pilot endurance race at Daytona with his co-driver Mark Lewis. Robert Wickens I believe he'll be a contender for that championship. And second, the entire Rolex 24 Hours of Daytona. I said it yesterday. It's going to be a race that people remember for a long, long time. And I was right. We saw it. We saw iconic battles throughout all 5 classes. And oh yeah, I think we'll see Helio drive for 5. I think we could see history made this year at Indy.
That would be something if we could see a historic Indianapolis 500 result. And of course, that's going to be one of the big events we'll be following all year. This week, it's going to be stacked. We're going to have Grid tonight. Then we're going to have the women in motorsports on Thursday. And then Grid Life pre-race. First time we're doing this for the Busch Light class at the Los Angeles Memorial Coliseum. Very excited for that one. Encourage everyone to tune in and be sure to participate and pick a winner because a 6-way tie for the lead. And this is NASCAR. It's going to be crazy, I think. And then, of course, Real Life wrap up approximately 90 minutes, potentially 60 minutes, depending on how late because the race is in the West Coast. And we know there's going to be quite a lot of fireworks. And a couple of last comments from Joshua Plays. Off topic, but if George Russell competes in F1 the same number of years as Kimi Räikkönen, he will be in F1 until 2037. That's amazing. That is a long career. And Joshua did ask if Josh Birch was on IMSA Radio. Josh, you were on the Ultimate Sports Radio Network, correct?
Yes, that's what I was on. I wasn't on the IMSA Radio now. I was on the Ultimate Sports Radio Network as well with Matt White and others as well who were calling the broadcast. And it was nice to be on radio for a change, not to be on camera. It was a lot more relaxed as well. And fantastic commentary from the entire team. A pleasure to work with them, as it is a pleasure to work here all the time. And I'm very much looking forward to getting into the motorsport season. I said at the end of the radio thing, this weekend sort of kickstarts everything. 2022 is up and running, and so far we've had 3 very exciting races.
Mm-hmm.
3 very exciting races. And for all our viewers, you can follow Ultimate Sports Radio Network on Twitter at USRN Radio. There, Matt White, who is also part of the Grid Network, is also with the Ultimate Sports Radio Network. And then we also got Edward Hunter. I'll be 42 years old in 2037. That's crazy at Joshua Place. I'm not going to think about how old I'm going to be in 2037. I'm just going to enjoy the years of car racing we have. Age is just a number, just like a race car number. I mean, 42, Kyle Larson was 42. Now he's number 5. Just all a number. And encourage everyone, be sure to help us get some bigger numbers when it comes to investing in the Grid Network. Be sure to join our Patreon or buy me a coffee. Patreon, monthly subscription. We definitely thank Colin, Michelle, Mark, and Robin for keeping us on the air. We have some big plans, including race coverage at the track this year. And Ed, thank you for the coffee. Definitely, we appreciate it. And if you want to be like Ed, click on Buy Me a Coffee. We'll feature your contribution for 1 week right here on the Grid Network throughout the programs. And our big sponsor, Public.com. $5 in free stock if you use the referral code GRIDnet. They also have an option for cryptocurrency as well. A link in the video description. And be sure to follow the Grid Network. We're on TikTok, Instagram, Twitch, Facebook. So if you can't stream us right here on YouTube all the time, you've got options as well. And of course, visit our website, Grid Ranking, and use the hashtag Grid Ranking as we get closer and closer to April 3rd. The first Sunday of April. And one of the big things, we just want to thank everyone for a very successful weekend for the Grid Network. Yesterday's show, we were just thrilled to have so many viewers. A lot of fun answering all the questions. And something to end on a more comical note, Josh Place is only going to be 28 in 2037. Yeah, I don't want to think about what my age is going to be by 2037,
yeah.
But we
42. Answer to life, the universe, and everything.
Thank you, Josh. I'll agree with that.
We thank everyone for tuning in to Grid Life Wrap Up. For Adam Lemery's our supercars expert, Ben Schneider, link to his channel in the video description, as well as Joshua Birch Motorsports channel. Definitely check out his coverage, as well as Megan with Formula E, and of course they'll be doing W Series, IndyCar, other events.
Am I making it obvious?
And then
My friends for Christmas, but yeah.
That was a sweet Christmas gift you got. And of course, Kobe Lambeth from the podium finish, our 2-time pick-a-winner champion, going for 3 in a row and been up for over 24 hours. Kobe, how soon are you going to get a good nap for you?
Well, actually, Joe, I wasn't up for 24 hours. It was slightly shorter, just over 20, I believe. But I'm really tired right now. But before I go to sleep, I'm gonna sign off and go watch some NFL playoff football, because that's what I've been looking forward to the most all day.
Yep, same here.
Definitely, if one of our viewers are watching, buy Kobe a cup of coffee. Link below and put in the comment. This is for Kobe.
Yes, it'll keep me awake through the NFC Championship game tonight.
Yeah.
So buy me a cup of coffee, please. Yeah. That'll keep me awake.
Yeah. Okay, Kobe.
Kobe Lambeth at the podium for Joshua Birch, Ben Schneider, and Adam Lemery's. I'm Joe San Diego. Thank you for watching today's program. We'll see you next time.
Don't be an anonymous investor. Join the stock market social media platform, Public.com. Invest any amount of money and share with friends and new friends. Discover new opportunities, such as new companies and potential business partners, and useful tools for beginners, and share your experience with friends on Public.com. Link in the video description gets you $5 for being a Grid Network viewer. Use the referral code GRIDnet for your free $5 to invest Start investing and networking on public.com.